tell you that I could dance before I could walk.
Sorry, I forgot to record it.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine. So my family would tell you that I could dance before I could walk. That's something that I've just always had within me growing up. And my family comes from a musical background. There's just a lot of music in my family. There are other dancers in my family. And I think it's just in my DNA. But as a kid growing up, with my mother's side of the family, they didn't sign. And so there was a struggle with communication with my family. And so dance was really like a thing that I had to express myself and be able to show whatever emotions were building up inside of me. And that's how I expressed myself. One thing I love about music is feeling the vibrations, and the music has a beat and you can feel the sound. And so many hearing people don't actually even think about that because they're so focused on hearing the music that they overlook how you can feel the music. And so they don't ever think about how deaf people can dance and enjoy the music, but we feel it. And I just love loud music and feeling the beat and going to concerts and festivals because it is loud. Yes, that is so. I love being able to, feel the beat and get into it and move my body and just move with the beat. So as a dancer, I've learned how to count with the beat. And so all music typically has 8 counts, so you can count to 8. Music is usually based on 8 counts. And so when you start to feel that beat and you start to count, that's how I typically identify when the music starts, has pauses, and ends. And that's how I create my dances, is I use those counts. And it's always, even if I'm performing and the music shuts off and comes back on, if I stay on those counts, I can always stay on the beat and it doesn't matter because the counts will match the music. And so even though I'm deaf and can't hear, if I can keep count on the beat with the music stays on that beat. And really, I'm always comfortable with my body just to move with the music and the beat. And that's my dancing. And so I learned how to dance and count and apply that to using ASL as well. It's the same concept, really, because, first you pick the song, you learn the lyrics. I read the lyrics and I study them quite a bit because you have to memorize them. And then you apply the beat and use the counts as well, because, sometimes the music starts with no lyrics. It starts off with just the music. And so you have to think about, when does the music apply the lyrics? When did the lyrics start? And a lot of times it's 2 8 counts without lyrics, and then the lyrics and words start. So it takes a lot of studying and listening and feeling it over and over again to make sure that my signs fit it best and really flow to match the music and the beat. So it's a lot of repetitive practice until I'm satisfied enough to actually perform one of my songs. And I do that because I realize that deaf people enjoy music, and it's not accessible to us. There are interpreters, yes. And before, it was nice to have interpreted music and when deaf people asked, but there's a lot of us deaf people, honestly, that can sign it too. So I noticed that, interpreters tend to recognize that, and hearing people look at it as, other hearing people see interpreters do it. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. And it's just great. And it's like, you know, they're doing a job and they're getting praised for that and normalizing it, and it's not really the hearing person's place. I want people to recognize that deaf people can do this too and enjoy music, but we need to provide access. We have to have the access instead of me sitting and just complaining about it, I decided to do something. As a deaf person, why don't I do it? I can sign it. So I decided to just do something about it myself and provide the access to my community and provide more exposure and advocate for the community and provide the access for us. And then people are starting to realize, oh, deaf people can enjoy music. They can sign it themselves. They can go to these places, if that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's something that often, every day people ask me like, why are you wearing headphones? And honestly, I'm listening to music, in meetings, or it helps me calm down to listen to music, listen to the beat, and be able to go about doing my things. It's a lot of deaf people really do find an escape in music. It's the same for hearing people. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and loud music, I just love feeling that bass boom, boom. And I can feel it, I enjoy it, and I enjoy music, I think, on a different level than hearing people. Hearing people are so focused on the words and the lyrics that sometimes the beat gets lost, but the beat has a role too. And, if you just close your eyes and you feel that bass and you let it reach your heart and your whole body, that for me is the beauty of it. And sometimes I think hearing people ask me, like, well, how can you dance? How can you do this or that? And I tell them, close your eyes, put your hands over your heart, and do you feel that? And they start to get it. And I'm like, well, that's how. And so for me, that's the connection. And that's how I try to get them to get it.
I think, yeah, music is just a part of all of us, and like there's rhythm inside all of us. And speaking of that, you mentioned that you sign ASL and you translate the music. Often people will think, oh, she's just signing word for word in English. But obviously, that's not the case. So, can you explain the difference between signing English word for word verbatim versus, translating it into ASL?
Oh, yeah. So
What up your sleeve?
yes, I got to. So first, the English, well, just basically English and ASL are not the same language. They are very different. And so if I sign a song word for word, that's just not ASL. And it becomes really confusing and you can't understand it. The lyrics typically have a lot of metaphors and a lot of big words that just don't make sense and won't be understood. And you'd end up just spelling a lot of them out. And so that wouldn't make any sense. In ASL, gloss, which means, how do I explain it? You can write it out on paper, sort of. Like first you sit down and you read the English lyrics and you think about what the musician is trying to say with their music, what the concept is with the song, and then I figure out how I can interpret that song with the picture, the big picture. What do I envision when I read those lyrics? And then I pick what kind of translation and signs I want to use. There's, many deaf people can take one song and sign it in several different ways because there's different perspectives. So, one song will not end up with one ASL version. It'll end up in different interpretations. So the gloss is the translation, changing it into ASL. It's definitely not word for word. And you use classifiers, which is what things look like in space. I'm trying to think of an example for you. Okay, so for one song that I sign, it's called Heartbreak
Celebration.
Anniversary.
Oh.
And it's a song about heartbreak celebration. And so the ASL and the English look very different. So for the English part, it says, I don't want to let you out of my head. So basically what they're saying is they don't want to forget about the relationship. And so if I sign, I don't want to let you out of my head, that's really not showing the
Right.
concept. Yeah, it's too English and it doesn't show what the musician was trying to say. You know, they're sad, they're heartbroken, they don't want to forget about the relationship. And so my decision for how I was going to interpret it was, I don't want to forget. And I used the sign for I love you stuck to the forehead. You know, so I use I love you stuck to the forehead. Like I want to keep that love right in my mind and I don't want to forget it. And I sign it like this with a lot of body movement and a lot of emphasis to set that tone of that heartbreak and, you know, just to make it musical, exaggerated sort of. I don't want to forget. I don't want you to leave. I want it to stay. What's happening?
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and continue.
But yeah, different things like that. For example, if the English, I don't know, ASL is a very visual language. So you want to show emotions, body movements, signs, big signs, what the music is conveying. The English can show emotions, but that's by the pitch of your voice, how the voice rises and falls, and the tone of your voice. It can get loud and soft with aggression or, you know, non-aggression. And deaf people do that in a different way. And they show that by what they do. So they do that with expression, body movement, how they sign their words. And so it's just different than English. Signing the English words wouldn't get those things across. Metaphors, too, for example, have different meanings.
Yeah. Oh, for example, it's raining cats and dogs.
Right. Yeah, if I signed raining cats and dogs, it's not actually, you know, coming
Right.
down with cats and dogs. It means it's
It's like
pouring.
buckets of water coming out. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, raining cats and dogs. I mean, you have to think about what does that really mean? And then choose a way to sign it that best shows what it actually means. And so I can show something and choose how I show it with my body as well.
Thank you for explaining that. I think it's important that we remember that it applies to our, parents now too. Maybe they're reading a book, in English, and they see the English captions or the English words, and they have to now sit down and try and figure out how to translate that into ASL. And it's the same concept, use your body language, your facial expressions, your gestures to try and relate to the story so that it helps them understand, what the picture is and what the real meaning is. So I want to go back to, oh, actually, I think we're going to transition to the Q&A part. So I want to go ahead and allow people to ask questions. Again, reminder, please allow our families to ask questions first. So you can either type them in the chat box or you can open your screen and talk. It's up to you. If there's no questions right now, we can go ahead and transition to the professionals if they have any questions. And then family, if you have any questions, please jump right in at any time. Oh, Sharon. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, go ahead.
That was wonderful. Uh, I do have a question. Who do you perform with most of the time? Who do you dance for in the community? I mean, I understand it is the community, but who who's your audience? And I have another question as well. Are you on YouTube? I have another question. Um, can you do maybe just a minute of something, even like a seated dance or an ASL song? I know it's probably hard to sit, but maybe just sign something for us. I'm just curious what that looks like. And the lyrics, because I am not familiar with music at all. And so honestly, lyrics, I don't even know what that means. So lyrics are a musician, when they're singing, it's the words to their song. So lyrics are what they're saying in English, what the singer is saying. So whenever they're actually singing and using their voice, that's what lyrics are, the words in English to the song, like a transcript, what the singer is saying. So,
Are you on YouTube?
oh, right. I do have signed songs. They're typically on YouTube. Um, I have some that I clean up and put on there. I have some old ASL videos on there. On YouTube, my name is Raven Sutton. And also for me, dancing, really, I danced at Gallaudet University. I danced for Gallaudet and out in the community. Now I'm on a hearing dance team. It's a bachata dance team. It's a Hispanic dance. It looks kind of like this. And I perform on the bachata team and we compete and travel. I'm the only deaf dancer on the team. So I've had a lot of exposure at dance school, and there are many places that'll provide interpreters, and it's been a lot of exposure to show people that deaf people can do this too, especially in the DMV area up here in Washington, D.C. And you're putting me on the spot.
Okay, how about you send me a couple of couple of videos that you've already done, and then I will send them out to the audience later afterwards. Thanks, Shay.
Thank you for your question. Thank you.
So now there's Brittany Collins left a message, and she says she has an 8-year-old who was born deaf, has been deaf all his or her life, and loves music and dancing, and just wanted to thank you for living your passion.
Oh, yay. Uh, 8 years old, that makes me think back to when I was young and I was loving music at that time, even though I was deaf. And many people, know more about deafness now, and that we have a culture, and almost every culture involves some kind of dance. Each culture has dance, and deaf culture's got it too. And I just really love that. I hope it continues on. I hope your 8-year-old loves music, and it can be so beautiful and we can enjoy it. And that's why I'm really working hard, trying to just take a next step, get my foot in the door with music, and make sure it's accessible. I'm getting closer and closer.
On your
But
way.
yeah, people are starting to notice my ASL videos. People are starting to hire more deaf people and interpreters for music. So hopefully, fingers crossed, soon we will actually start to see more real access for deaf people within music.
Oh, yeah. Any more questions for Raven? Okay, hi. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to let the interpreter show. Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kiana. First, I just want to say thank you for sharing your experiences. My son Quincy is 2 and he's deaf. And when you said about just hearing and feeling the beat, he wears cochlear implants, but in the car, most of the time he takes them off. So he's always still dancing to the bass in the car. And he just loves music. He gets close to the TV to feel it. So I really, it just made me think of him when you shared your experience and how you're able to listen to music and feel the music. So thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Yes, I love that you noticed that in your son as well. That's really good because, yeah, one thing about us, we deaf people, we, don't have all 5 senses. We may have lost one, but our other senses are so strong. And with your son, he may not be able to hear it, but he is definitely feeling it more. The vibrations, the beat, even some noises that are loud. Deaf people do respond to loud noises, or they feel them and they look and say, what's going on? So even with feeling things, yes, definitely. Music in the car, feeling that beat. I'm so glad you noticed that. Yeah.
So one person private messaged me and asked me a question. Do you use dancing in your work as a social worker?
Oh, that is a good question. Let me roll up my sleeves for that one. Okay, so mm, I have gone to Haiti, and this is the sign for Haiti. I've gone to Haiti and visited the deaf school there in Haiti, and that's in Port-au-Prince. And I taught dance at the deaf school there in Haiti because in Haiti, the hearing community and deaf community are not working together. They don't collaborate. And honestly, the deaf people in Haiti are looked down upon. And so I wanted to do something that could maybe help to bridge the gap a little bit between the deaf and hearing communities. So I wanted to do something that they both could do, and that's dance. And so I went to Haiti and I taught dance to deaf students there. I
Choreography.
choreographed, thank you, choreographed some dance for the deaf students there. And I left one open to them that was not yet choreographed, that they could choreograph. And I noticed that many of the people there didn't feel confident in themselves. They felt, well, I'm deaf and I can't do this. I can't be a teacher. I can't be a doctor. Because the hearing people there have always told them they couldn't. You've got a disability and we should just push you to the side and not let you do anything. And so with the dance, I'm an advocate using dance therapy. And so not in a verbal way of communication to express themselves, but they can use their body movements. And so that's what I did with them. And wow, from the very first day we learned the choreography to the last, it was inspiring. You could see the change on their face, how inspired they were just to feel like they could do something, that they had dreams that they could set up. Some said they wanted to have their own dance studio. I want to have my own dance studio for deaf and at-risk youth.
Your dream?
My dream, yes. So after that experience, I decided, with my social work, my dream now is to establish my own dance studio in some other countries, like maybe in Haiti, Jamaica, even in the United States. And I'm thinking I want them, just to have a space they can go to express themselves like I did as a kid. Because I feel like when we're young, especially as teenagers, trying to find our identity and figure that out, yeah, teenagers don't trust adults. They trust their peers. And so I'd rather them have an outlet, a way to express themselves without having to communicate verbally or even in sign. Body movements and just meditation, a crying room, a room that they can cry out, even a punching bag, something that they can get their emotions that are built up out and released. Teach them how to identify and recognize those emotions that we feel, and that it's okay to be upset, sad, cry. Many times it's hard to recognize what those emotions are when you're in an experience. So I want some type of studio maybe to set up where disabled and at-risk communities, you know, definitely my way is what I use through dance. And I want to mainstream social work with dance therapy. So I want to get my social work license first, and then I can do my own private practice. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful answer. And when you do set it up, not if, but when you set it up, I will definitely be sending out our families and children. I'll give you support. Maybe myself. Maybe I'll even go for myself. Oh, looks like we have another question from Andrea. Her daughter is now 12 and she's deaf as well. She would love to be able to appreciate music at her church, but they don't want to have an interpreter for her. Do you have any suggestions for how she can get her attention on the music and how she can feel the beat and the drums and see the lyrics on the big screen? Any tips that you might have for how to encourage her to dive in a little bit more?
Well, they're missing the ASL part for sure. Reading the lyrics in English is different than seeing the visual concept of what it means and being able to really just dive deep into the meaning of those lyrics. So if you're a parent who knows ASL, you might be able to sit with your daughter and sign with her, maybe watch some YouTube videos. There's actually a lot of church songs in ASL translated on YouTube. Maybe that way you can start the process, start doing that, or maybe some easy songs that you already know. You like the song and you already know it. Maybe you can try to start signing it into ASL, so you can start seeing the ASL, and that might encourage her to get involved. But yes, she still needs access to the lyrics. For me, English, I read it and it's like, well, okay, once I see the ASL and the concept and I really see it, that's when it, affects me.
Yeah, I look back to, so I grew up in church too, and I went to a deaf church, and I remember having people sign songs themselves. And maybe one tip for your daughter is to try to sign them herself. That way, it's sometimes hard to watch. I mean, she's 12, so she might be embarrassed, don't want her parents to look. So you guys don't have to look at her, but maybe try it herself to see, she can find a new passion in doing so. I mean, look at Raven, she found her music and signing. So
also, if there is a deaf church in the area, maybe you could find one and visit one day and see, maybe have that experience with her. Personally, I like deaf church more than I like going to hearing churches because it's ASL accessible. Hearing churches typically don't have interpreters, and so I like the beat, but I don't understand what's going on throughout the whole service. Deaf churches typically have American Sign Language. You can get more involved. I signed songs for deaf church, but I won't do that in a hearing church. So I feel comfortable in the deaf church being able to put my hands up and get involved in the music.
she said, yes, that makes sense. she tends to, when her parents sign, she tends to throw her hands down. But the video is definitely an option. And yeah, going to a deaf church might also be a good idea that they visited. So, okay, we're nearing the time to the end of the event. Anyone have any last minute, final burning questions? We want to take the opportunity to go ahead and ask Raven. I do actually have one more question for you, Raven. You mentioned a lot about how to make things accessible and being an advocate for the deaf community. So how we maybe, let us all know, the audience, how hearing people can make a sound difference in, in the environment, like with access, and whether it's through church or whatever event may be going on. How can we be advocates for the deaf community?
Really, first, we have to recognize that deaf people are there. Deaf people show up. And, sometimes hearing people just don't even think about deaf people. We just get overlooked. But we're still part of your community too. And, when you're planning anything, think about the disabled community as part of your community, and they want to enjoy things too. If you're promoting something, have flyers, but please also put contact information for accommodations on your flyers. Because anytime a deaf person or another person with a disability happens to see an advertisement for an event, we never know who to contact if we wanted to try to ask for an accommodation. And so if there's no contact person, we don't know who to contact. We might try several different people and everybody just says, not me, try somebody else. So a contact person for accommodations for your event would be really helpful on the event flyer. Some people, they just assume they've never had a deaf person show up, or they won't have a deaf person show up. But if you already show that you're ready to provide access, you'll have them show up and you can make that happen. Always have videos. If you have any video, please, the number one thing is at least have captioning. Yeah. Because, and many deaf people use social media, and when there's no captioning on social media, gosh, we just scroll and scroll, and so many videos are just void of captioning. And, there's so many things that could be informational and that we want to access. But when people post videos, we want to know that information too. But if the information, is really important, everyone needs to be able to access that too. So caption your videos and provide interpreters.
And I'll mention captions is easier now than ever. It's easy. Just click on a button on Instagram and they'll have captions available right there. So for example, right now, do you see there's captions or a transcript at the bottom? So it's easy. It's just one click. That's it. So it's really important to think of us. I think that's the point.
Yeah, and there are free apps in Apple and Google and I think Android.
Google Play,
Yeah, whatever they are. But they have free captions, different apps. Sometimes if you already know what you want to talk about, you can write it down first and then either speak it and add the transcript or the captioning later. It's really nice and very important to have the captions on your video. And also, the captions are the only thing, some people think that captions are it and that's all they have to do, but it's not the only thing. And we have a new president this year, and many people online were talking about, why do they have to have an interpreter and captions? Why do we need both? We don't need an interpreter if there's already captions, but that's so not true. yes, captions are an accommodation, but there are many deaf people who their primary language is American Sign Language, and they don't have a good mastery of English. It's just not their strength. And so a lot of times if they read those captions, they still don't understand maybe the gravity of what's going on. And so, they need the clear understanding of what's happening, and the ASL interpreter gives that to them. So you should already set up an interpreter, have that ready, the accommodation ready, and don't wait for us to ask. You should already have that in place with your budget for your events as well. Have money set aside in the budget for disability accommodations so that people know that you're ready to provide and pay for those accommodations. It's a tax write-off. You should already have it in place and in the plan for your budget, so that if somebody says, oh, can we get an interpreter for that event? You said it's already in place, you've got it ready. You have money ready. It should already be in the budget planning and in your plan. Many people sign up for festivals, and a lot of festivals have interpreters signed up ready to go every year. So really, that's kind of, it's nice to have the ASL. And if you work in a store or something where you interact with people every day, it wouldn't hurt to learn basic ASL, that fits your job. That way you can have basic communication with people, just be mindful of people in your community.
Thank you. Looks like one person private messaged me and said, I just saw one video of you and your team performing a song underwater. So creative. Please continue to do that. We want to see more videos moving forward for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a great experience underwater, and signing the emotions and with the deaf. Also in Vogue magazine. That was really nice.
That's wonderful and fancy. And Kiana has one more question. She asked, are you on TikTok? She says, our family watches a lot of ASL videos and deaf community videos.
Yes, I have a TikTok. I do. And the name on there is Blue Jay 19XX. Yeah.
You got it. And that's the same for your Instagram and Twitter and other social medias.
Sure is.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I know you want to drop, oh, your sweatshirt. You want to talk more about that? Did you buy that?
There's a Black deaf woman, and her Instagram is Lotus Blossom, and she's on Instagram. And also I wanted to let you know that typically my signing videos are typically not kid friendly. They're kind of just not kid friendly. So I did want to mention that. Any kid songs, if you want me to sign kid songs, let me know. I'd be happy to sign kid songs for the kids. But I just wanted to put it out there that the ones that are available are typically not kid friendly. So, but just let me know if you want me to do some kid ones.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So music is for all audiences. That's really the point. So now we're getting close to the time of the end, and we just want to thank you for your time again and for explaining all about your life and your experiences, your knowledge, your wisdom. And really, we've learned a lot tonight from you already, we know. So again, thank you so much for your time. And if everyone wants to pull their screen back up and say goodbye before you hang up, you're more than welcome to. But thank you to our interpreters. Thank you all. I know
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
so thank you, thank you. Bye, bye.
Bye. Thank you.